Wait, what? That's not the MP600. Sasquatch, what are you doing here? And just for fun, I got my Sasquatch tool out. Sasquatch? How do you say it? Yeti? Whatever. Hey guys, welcome back to the GearsNTool channel. Today we're reviewing the Gerber MP600. And no, the Sasquatch tool is not included. I actually got this for Christmas this year. My folks gave it to me as a stocking stuffer. I thought it was pretty funny, so I wanted to show you guys. The kind of joke behind this is I was threatening to give everybody in my family a snowflake multi-tool for Christmas. And they happened to stumble across this one and thought it would be kind of funny to get me back. So here's the Sasquatch multi-tool. I will put a link in the description below if you're interested in something like this. It's not very practical. I've used it to open a few beers and stuff like that, but it's more just for fun. Also, as we go through this review, I'll put a link in the description below for the MP600 that you see here. So yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. I had to show you guys. Today we are going to be reviewing the Gerber MP600, and this is a platform that the US military uses as their standard issue tool, and there's a couple different variations of it. And today we're reviewing the Pro Scout version. And the reason I picked this, it has the rim grit saw on it, which we're going to get into a little bit, but I thought that was kind of a neat feature. So I wanted to get this version to show you guys. So just a little backstory on this tool, guys. Like I said earlier, it is the standard issue multi-tool for the US military. And I couldn't get any exact numbers online or anything, but it sounds like about 2.5 million of these have been deployed overseas successfully. So if they're still using it after deploying that many of them, it must be a pretty good tool. I'm not going to say this is the best tool or the perfect tool, but it does strike a pretty good balance between cost, functionality, simplicity, ruggedness, you know, all those key things that you look for in a multi-tool, especially if you're conscientious about your budget and you don't want to spend north of $200 on some fancy tool. So this is a pretty good all-around tool, kind of like the AK-47 of the multi-tool world. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the sheath, and then we can dive into the details of the tool itself. So this is probably the simplest multi-tool sheath that I have seen on a multi-tool so far. It's basically just two flat pieces of nylon, you know, stitched around the edge. There's no side webbing or anything like that. Just for comparison, this is the sheath off the Gerber Center Drive, and as you can see, there's extra webbing on the side to kind of get the pouch expandability. This does not have that, but the tool does fit in, providing you with a way to attach this to your belt. So the sheath passes. I would prefer that it had a snap button on it instead of Velcro, but at this price point, you can't really complain. Let's go ahead and set the sheath aside and look at the tool itself. So this multi-tool has a pretty good size and weight to it. The length is 5.1 inches long. It is 1.6 inches wide, and it is 0.78 inches thick. And the width I took at the buttons because that is the widest part of the tool. So a relatively compact tool, all things considering, and it weighs in at 7.75 ounces, which is pretty good, really. Just to compare that to a couple of its competitors, the Leatherman OHT is about 8.5 ounces, and the Gerber Center Drive is almost 10 ounces. So definitely a lighter tool. As far as the size goes, you can see that it's a little bit slimmer than the Leatherman OHT, and it's definitely smaller than the Gerber Center Drive. So definitely a nice size tool. So that's a quick size and weight overview for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pliers. And one of the nice things about this particular multi-tool is the flick of a wrist, the pliers are deployed. And this is the first multi-tool, to my knowledge, that had that feature. In fact, Leatherman had to wait for the patent to expire on this tool before they could come out with their Leatherman OHT. The needle nose pliers on this tool are very serviceable. It comes down to a nice tip that doesn't leave much of a gap. Nice teething on the flat section of the tool itself, and the wire cutters are sufficiently big. There's also a wire crimper back here in the upper portion of the handle of the tool. Two plier features that you don't get on this multi-tool that you do get on the Gerber Center Drive and Leatherman OHT are removable wire cutters, and the pliers are not spring-loaded like those other two models are, which is a little bit more cumbersome. Not a big deal, especially since I think these pliers are going to loosen up quite a bit over time. Moving on to the inside tools, this handle has a 2.1 inch long combo blade that is made from 420 HC steel. It's not my favorite multi-tool blade. It's a little bit on the short side, and I'm not a big fan of combo blades, but 420 HC steel is kind of the industry standard for multi-tools, and this one's going to be perfectly serviceable and relatively easy to sharpen. Out of the box, it is razor freaking sharp. So they did a pretty good job on the sharpness of this knife. Kind of an interesting blade shape, a very flat belly on the knife, which I actually like, especially when you're trying to do draw cuts and stuff like that with the tip. This is going to be a very functional shape for this knife. So good job on the knife, Gerber. Other than it being a combo blade, but I kind of knew that when I bought it, so can't really complain. So the other two tools on this side of the handle are the standard Phillips drive head, which is relatively short, but it is a full Phillips drive. It's not one of those flattened out 2D drivers, so it's going to work really well for most applications. And then the final tool on this side of the MP600 is the rim grit saw. And what's really cool about this saw is it comes with a standard saw shank, so you can swap out something else if you really want to. An exclusively metal saw, a wood saw, whatever. The nice thing about the rim grit saw is it can be used on both metal and wood. And I think that was a really smart call for a tool that's going to be a standard issue to the military, because you really don't know what you're going to come up against. You might be out in the woods and you need to cut some branches, or you might come across a fence and you need to cut a padlock off. So the rim grit saw is a good call. It can be easily replaced when it's damaged, and all around I think it's going to be a very serviceable blade for people. Switching over to the other handle of the MP600, we have a file, and this is a relatively serviceable but unremarkable file in my opinion. On this side we have the crosscut pattern, and on this side it's just a single hatch pattern. A couple quick things that I want to point out about the file. They didn't bring the crosscuts all the way out to the tip of the file, so you're going to have a dead spot out here on the tip. Also, they cut a finger nick into the file itself, which is a little bit of a downside because when you're filing on it, it's liable to get the part stuck in there. It's not as bad as the Gerber Power Access where they put an entire hole in the file, but I would have preferred a finger nick at the tip of the file so you could just pull it out that way and have a fully functioning face of the file. Another thing this file does not have is crosscuts on the bottom of the file. This is a feature I really like when you're trying to slot cut a screw head that you stripped out so you can use your screwdriver. This file does not have that. You could probably use that rim grit saw, but I would have preferred that the file also had crosscuts on the bottom. It's pretty effective. You just quickly slot cut your screw and away you go. Also, the file does not have diamond coating, but at this price point I don't expect it. It's just crosscut and single cut on either side. Moving on to the smaller tools on this handle, we have a can opener, a small screwdriver, and a larger screwdriver with a bottle opener. And overall, I'm pretty impressed with the machining on these guys. The stock of these tools is a little bit thicker than what you see on other multi-tools. And all the cuts are very clean. There's no rough edges. There's no areas where it looks like the cut was incomplete like I've seen on some other multi-tools. So really clean machining on these tools. Gerber's doing a good job on these. Something else that I want to point out about these tools on the inside of the handle is if you look down in there, you can see that there are bronze bushings or spacers between each tool. What's good about that is for each tool, when you try to actuate them, they don't clump up or move the other tools. You can see here as I move like the can opener, for instance, the other tools don't want to come out with it and they don't get stuck together. So that's actually a really nice feature. It's really annoying when you have a tool and you're trying to just pull one tool out to use it and all the tools come out and you got to sort through them. So that's a nice touch by Gerber. They definitely did the pivots and stuff correctly on this tool. So good job there. So the final tool on the handle of the MP600 is a pair of scissors. And they look like pretty stout scissors, relatively thick blades, and a nice long handle. They snick well, they're spring loaded. And I have a torture test for scissors that anyone who's been watching my channel for a while knows about. It's called paracord. So for whatever reason, a lot of multi-tool scissors have a really hard time with just simple paracord. They'll cut through cardboard fine, they'll cut through paper, but you know, the real test is if it can cut through paracord, you know you have a really good pair of scissors. If it can't, you know they're just okay. So let's go ahead and try with my fingers kind of up against the cut. And with a little support there, they seem to do okay. Now let's go ahead and try and do the free hanging cut, which is what most multi-tools have a lot of trouble with. And it's doing okay. It's not quite cutting all the way through, but it is doing better than a lot of other multi-tools I've used in the past. So all in all, decent pair of scissors. They're a little bit short, so they have trouble cutting all the way through a strand of paracord unless you're really kind of holding it in there. But overall, pretty good. So based on a brief testing that we just did here, I would say that these scissors are a pass. I will note that I have had these scissors jam on me before, but this pair of scissors seems to be doing pretty good overall. So definitely better than most multi-tool scissors. I would say the Leatherman Surge has a slightly better pair of scissors, but that tool also costs 3 times as much as this one. So good job, Gerber. All right, guys, so that's all the features of the Gerber MP600. And what are the pros and cons and kind of my overall takeaway of this multi-tool? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the pros real quick here. So the Gerber MP600 is a really good size and weight. It's kind of on par with the Leatherman rebar, just a little bit bigger, but definitely kind of in that weight category. It's relatively light, quick to deploy, and really just kind of a handy tool that's ready to go and doesn't weigh your pack down a ton. I like that the rim grit saw uses a standard blade shank, so you can replace it with a metal saw or a wood saw. and the one that's included can cut through both metal and wood. So a very versatile tool that you don't find on a lot of other options. And probably the biggest pro of the MP600 are the quick deploying pliers. They come out completely every time. So big wins there. So what are a couple of cons of this tool? Well, first is there's no exterior deployable tools at all. Unlike the Gerber Center Drive, where you have a large knife blade that can be deployed from the outside and a large screwdriver. Granted, this tool costs a lot more, but it would be nice if there was an exterior blade on this tool. On the topic of knives, another con is there's only one knife blade in this tool. A little bit of a bummer, especially considering it's a combo blade that's not very long. When compared to the Gerber Center Drive, they definitely could have put a longer blade in there. And the last con is the sheath. It's really basic. It can only be mounted to a belt. It's got Velcro on it, and it doesn't have a lot of extra space for other tools like bit drivers and things like that you might need for other aspects of your kit. So a really basic sheath. That's a pretty easy upgrade though, so I can't complain about that too much. So one thing I want to point out that some people might consider to be a con, but I personally don't, is that this tool is a relatively loose tool. If you can listen to it here, it rattles. And when you deploy it, the plier heads move from side to side and up and down. Also, if you look at the handles are pretty loose. And to be clear, guys, it's not like these things are flexing. The tool itself is very rigid, but all the parts fit very loosely together. And I think that was done intentionally because, again, this tool is a standard issue for the US military. So they're expecting this to be thrown in sand, buried in mud, dunked in water, and there's going to be stuff that gets stuck in here and kind of inhibits the function of this tool. So by building it loosely, it gives gunk and stuff room to pass through the tool, or if you need to use another multi-tool or a screwdriver, you can dig it out of there pretty easily because there's room to get in there. So I don't consider it to be a con. I think it's kind of a design feature, kind of like the AK-47, just kind of a loose fit to make sure that everything works every time. Oh, and just so you guys don't think I forgot, there is a 3-inch ruler and an 8cm ruler on the handles, if that's something you need. Thanks for watching today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button below. It helps the channel out a lot. And don't forget to hit the subscribe and bell icon so you're the first to be notified when I release new videos just like this one. Cheers.